Hello, everybody. Captain Sidaris here. Today, I have the privilege to talk to two very special guests, Kane and Canadian, who both host a very amazing, heavily customized DayZ Epoch server. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
uh,
Yeah.
I'm fine. Thank you for inviting us.
Well, I always look for special mods, special servers, and hear the history behind those projects. So, thank you guys for doing the work and joining me. Before we start, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What do you do in real life? What movies do you watch? Stuff like that.
Do you want to go first, Kane?
Sure. So I'm Kane. I am the old guy of the TLF team. I'm 48 years old. I live in Sweden with my wife and daughter. I work with corporate history and business archives, and I am the CEO of a small archive organization. I've had the same job for 17 years, so obviously I like it. And that's me. And I like horror movies and fantasy movies from the 80s.
Yeah, I'm Canadian. I'm I guess you would say, I don't want to say like head or mastermind because we don't really use those terms in our um, group. I should say we're missing another coder. He's away with family. He's American, and there's it's Thanksgiving right now, so there's an American holiday going on. But I guess I'm the main, I guess you would say, patchwork developer. I take ideas from both Kane and Bombardier Bomb, our other developer, and it was my idea initially with Kane to start, and then we met Bomb later through mutual friends on the Epoch dev community, and yeah, I'm basically in charge of just testing the code, making sure it works. I'm the head admin, but I don't really enjoy, like, we see each other as friends, so I it's three friends who decided to mod together essentially. In real life, I I do a lot of stuff. I work seasonally, so half of the year I work in museum curation, but also I work as an archaeological field student, and I've done archaeological work during grad school. I did archaeological work in Central and South America. I only work about 6 months of the year as a museum curator, and then the other 6 months I help my family run a small business. So yeah, that's pretty much me. My favorite genre of film, I guess, would be, I love the old sword and sandal movies from the 80s and 70s. Those are pretty good. Like, think I have a degree in classical history, so I love things like the old claymation, Jason the Argonauts, and Clash of the Titans and stuff like that. That's pretty good. Yeah.
And how did you guys meet?
What was the year? I
I
think it was 2018, late 2018 or early 2019.
Yeah, we met on the Canadian server called
We met.
Bartertown, an Origin
Yeah.
server.
So Caden has always had a very extensive. He has on YouTube a very extensive, I would say, library of videos in the older kind of DayZ story animation style that was around about 10 years ago, and you saw a lot of people do it. It's unfortunate that not many people do it now, but anyway, we met. I watched one of his videos, and then I just basically messaged him, and he messaged me back what server he was playing, and then that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you then decide to create a own server and go into the modding route? Because both of you, I guess, are not really in the IT sector.
No, yeah. Basically, we were both, I would say, upset that the Origins team, I would say, in some respect, kind of, some people would view it as abandoned their project to go to something else, but basically, Origins as a mod, as a standalone mod, was a dead end. Around that time, I started getting more interested in learning about making map edits, and so was Kane. Kane actually initially was doing that for his own videos, and then basically I started just listening to or I subscribed, I guess you could say, or joined the DayZ Epoch Discord and just started talking to some of the devs, and then realized, like, hey, this is learnable. What came later was the various pieces, various people that taught me things and taught Kane things. So yeah.
Yeah, I started to when I started to make videos, I learned how to make the nicer looking intros and stuff, and that's how I learned to use the single player editor. And then I started to use the multiplayer editor, and now we use SQF injector. So I have learned a lot from doing my videos from the beginning, and then I learned from Canadian and Bomb to do better stuff.
I wonder how easy is it to get really into the modding of the Arma 2 engine? Is this well documented?
No,
Some things, some, but
it's
not most things.
everything is detective work basically.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Uh,
yeah.
just to
Especially,
find all the class names is a
yeah, yeah.
horrible lot of work. Yeah.
If the configs are default Arma 2, most of the class names are in Czech because Bohemia is a Czech-based developer. I think most of their studios are in and around Prague, a beautiful city. I've been there before for separate stuff, not even related to Bohemia. But anyway, I think the Czech uh, language can be tough if you're not familiar with it. So we joke about a lot of the Czech class names that give us class names for items or things in the configs that give us issues because it's just funny to joke about them.
I don't want to jump that far into the discussion, but I just wondered half an hour ago something which I notice on every custom map mod version, that it seems, at least for me, that it's very hard to change the map. Not the playable map, but the map you have if you press the M key. Is this true? Is it very hard, or why are there so many servers out there who don't change it?
I think you're talking primarily about mission markers and map markers. Is that what you're?
One thing is the mission markers, yes, but on the other side, stuff like roads, custom buildings, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, right. So essentially, when you load up a Arma 2 world, and they're all usually called worlds. We sometimes refer to them as maps, but in the configs they're called worlds. The way that the server communicates to the clients, so the player joining and the server itself, is there's a packaged file called a PBO that essentially, the non-boring version of this is that the PBO file of the map has to be the same between the client, so the player joining the server, and also the server that you're joining, so the server that's running. When a server like ours makes added map add-ons, like the beautiful building that we're standing on top of right now, and on top of Glen Mountain, there isn't an ability for the server to communicate because if the server is basically using that older, it's rendering that older version of the map. So there isn't an ability in game for the map add-on, sadly, to show unless you use markers. It's a bit complicated because you have to learn how the client and the server works. You can remedy this by making custom maps, totally. However, you would need that person to download your version of the custom map, and you would need a launcher, a custom launcher as well, to go with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. So it can't be just a script-based stuff, which is on the server side. Both sides need that. Okay, yeah.
You can do it script based, but they won't show up on the map unless you use markers. Yeah. Could make your own custom markers. There's probably some discussion whether these markers would reduce server performance because they're constantly looping to show, but I don't think it would be that bad for small markers, probably. Large ones constantly showing over the place might be a problem. Yeah.
Okay, then I would say answer maybe the question of the day here. What is the last frontier? Can you give me a short summary?
I can tell you what we want
Yeah.
to be. We kind of want it to be a community of several servers, servers that use the full potential of Arma 2 and Epoch mod. And we prefer the apocalyptic zombie survival side of things and not the kind of servers that are really up now. Most of the servers now are very C. There is very fast progress and very high military, often very high military. We want it to be more survivory. And then later on, we might even go on to host other games.
I think that was a good description, Kane, of what we want. The best way I can say it from myself is similar. It's like we want to go back to that older, I guess you could say the word vanilla, that vanilla version of DayZ, with added assets and added features. There's a lot of Epoch assets that we don't have enabled on our servers. Basically, we find them to be too metagamey, or too glitchy, or just not very fun in the spirit of what the older versions of DayZ offered. The meta for the mod has changed a lot with various iterations, and I would say it changed a lot around 2015, 2016, and it became much more militarized. And we try to shy away from that. Yeah.
And what would you say was the real initial idea to make it, well, I won't say a hardcore survival simulator, but in that direction?
I think Kane would agree with this. Almost everyone is influenced in the DayZ community, the Arma 2 DayZ community, by Frankie on PC's videos, right? To some extent, like they either watched them or they tried to play with them and stuff like this. And a lot of the videos that he made were on custom servers, and he had a very skilled custom dev who's still in the community, in the Arma 2 community, that helped him make those servers. His name is Maka. He's the guy in charge of the DayZ launcher, actually. So I think for us, it was seeing inspiring things on those videos and then wondering, could we recreate similar things? Yeah.
And can you give me a rough time frame when you did the first scripting, the first map changes?
I think 2019. Kane, am I right in saying that? Late 2019, early 2020, something like this?
Yeah, I think we started then, and well, we basically didn't know what we were doing back then.
No, we learned through trial and error.
Uh,
A lot of trial and error.
yeah, so
We learned through a lot of trial and error, yeah.
a few things that we started to do is probably not on even on the server anymore.
Yeah, we removed things that we later found to be redundant or not a good fit.
Kane, on your channel, I saw many background story videos. How did you came up with those ideas? It's very interesting what you're creating here.
Thank you. Well, the backstories I made for the Cherno server, I just made up. I don't know. I have a knack for making up stories. I've been playing role-playing games since 1984 or 5 something. So a bit of creative stuff. And I had some voice acting for those backstories from a few friends. Canadian is one, and also from my wife. And yeah, I based my own story on the lone wolf hero type character. The way everyone wants to be like Frankie on PC.
And I'm just a friendly Canadian, I think,
To some extent. Yeah.
in that universe somehow.
Yeah. And the Malsk backstory, it's in large part inspired by the original the Malsk mission story, I guess, that Sumrak once made. And then I added some flavor to it.
Stalkers, I think, was the original name.
The Night
Just changed
Stalkers,
it a bit.
yes.
Yeah.
Then we just stole some of that story to
Yeah.
and try to recreate some of it into the missions and stuff that we're building for Namalsk.
Mhm.
And I guess primarily it's just you two, but I think you mentioned a third person.
Yeah, so I didn't know anything about the coding language, SQF, which I guess it's a mix of C++ and another language called Ruby that I'm not too familiar with. But we found someone in the DayZ Epoch community that was, one, willing to show us how to basically write our own scripts and how to optimize scripts and things like this, but also help us run our own servers. And it's kind of, I would say, it's a very, for me, it's a very mutually rewarding friendship because we're friends that share coding knowledge, which unfortunately a lot of people guard quite heavily in the Arma 2 community. I can understand this from some perspectives, but it's a very steep learning curve. And at first, it's, I think most people could learn to, if they enjoy Arma 2, I think most people could learn to make mods for Arma 2. However, it's a very steep learning curve at first, and you just, it's like uncovering lots of interesting secrets that you didn't know existed all the time.
Yeah, Bomb is really, really talented.
Bomb, he works
I call him the wizard all the time.
yeah.
He can do. I ask him, can we do this? And he says, how well.
Yeah,
Let's
and
see.
then he and I test it, and then I go through basically, I guess you would say bug fixing with it, and I basically the Bomb will help us develop the script, or I will come up with that idea similar to what Kane said, and then I will write the initial script, and then Bomb will help us if there's any syntax issues or basically
Yeah.
large
I,
glaring issues in the code that wouldn't work normally.
so, well, in this group of three, I see the other ones, the Canadian and Bomb. They are the talented ones, and I am the enthusiastic one.
I look at it a
I
bit
am the one who
differently.
play. I have played the game for so long, and so I play it a lot still. I'm just think everything is so cool.
You're at
And it's
over 10K hours, I think.
I'm
Steam
close
hours.
to
Yeah.
I'm close to 10K hours. Yes,
I
in
think
game.
I'm only at like 3K, even though I've been playing Arma 2 since 2012, which is crazy.
But it's good.
But
It's
yeah,
good to be the. I think it's good to have a lot of experience from the game as well
yes,
in this.
you learn a lot of the fun things in the engine that way. Yeah.
And I can ask all the
Way to go.
stupid questions that you have to
Mm.
fix
Yeah.
for the servers later. Can we do this? Do we have
Yep.
to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want
No,
this.
it's true. Yeah. And I guess if we had more developers, we could go faster. If we had more people. I don't really. I see it as quality versus quantity.
Yeah, well, I don't think we will agree as much if we were more people doing this.
Yeah. Too many people can.
Yeah.
Or I might be losing connection. Not sure. I think it's my satellite internet. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah, still hear you.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned that the Arma 2 engine isn't the easiest to script and customize. What big challenge did you meet during this whole thing?
I think this is a question for the talented ones.
Well, one thing I know Kane will relate to, the editor, if anyone's ever used the Arma 2 editor, it uses SQF scripts when you place objects, if you place AI, if you do anything in it. It makes little self-contained SQF scripts that you could then use in single-player or multiplayer missions. Essentially, the way the editor works when it treats everything as a vehicle, objects, people, a bush, a tree, everything is a vehicle with a class name. So basically, get position, which is one of the things the editor uses, the way it spawns objects can sometimes be very finicky. And that's one big initial problem if you're getting into it. Later on, there will be issues when you're writing your own scripts, like adding things like disabling serialization and deciding if you want the script to be client or server side, and lots of things like that, essentially.
And Kane, were there any features you wanted and the magicians couldn't get it into the game engine?
I must say they have been very very good so far. We have maybe even worked out a way to have a working PDA system like in Origins and even better.
Ooh, I like the word better.
Yeah, and for more information that we can put on it.
Yeah. There's ways to make it support like messaging players while they're offline, so that the next time the player you message, this is just an example, logs back in, they will see like a list of emails basically in their PDA. Things like this are all possible.
Really nice.
I have had a lot of ideas, and I think basically all of the ideas that were good, I think you guys have been able to realize some way.
Yeah. There's probably a few things that we weren't
The
able to do.
Yeah,
But those are
the fiddliest thing so far, I think, is to get patrolling AI correctly. That is really hard.
Yeah, I've been writing. We were using older mods essentially, like DayZ AI and stuff like that, which are pretty widely used in the community. They're basically plug and play mods that have been developed for mission editing by other server owners or people in the community several years ago. Some of them have been updated, some of them haven't. There's several of these kind of plug and play mods. However, some of them are quite different to the type of playstyle we want to create on the server. So, for example, DayZ AI, there's a lot of interesting functions in how it works, but predominantly the way that it works is that the AI sense the player, the client, and they spawn around the player in several radiuses. And they don't have very good pathfinding, I would say. If you're looking for unique AI, to move and look more realistic. They kind of just, as Terminator AI, they just kind of
Yeah. And I have had a lot of ideas, and I think a lot of them, and all of them, has been realized, and will be before we're done with the Namalsk server. Even very, very, what I thought was very, very hard to do, but yeah.
I guess since you already achieved so much on both your servers, what would you say is the best thing you created? What is your favorite feature, vehicle, city?
I don't want to spoil too much, but the thing we have done with A2 and the Athena project on the Namalsk server will be very, very interesting. And I don't think people will fully understand the scale of that until they have experienced it. So that will be very cool. And then I think a lot of things on the Namalsk map will be so different from what people have seen before that it might even be hard to take in all of it at first. So
Yep.
I intend to play there a lot so I can guide people and answer questions and stuff.
For me, it's probably a combination of what we're doing, I guess, in the same vein of Kane, in the storytelling of various missions, but there are really unique ways through essentially string table manipulation to rename items and give them new descriptions, and that allows creative people or people who want to edit base Arma 2 to really develop quite detailed stories, and allows people to essentially, the map and the items and the objects in the map can tell a story as much as the events that are going on there. So I enjoy that aspect of our storytelling. Yeah.
I saw a lot of your, let's call it promotional videos. Every time I see stuff like amazing bunkers, amazing loot, amazing areas where I expect a lot of loot on previous servers, I couldn't find anything or just a few items. Is it a problem from the game engine, or is it just a design decision?
Probably a combination of design decision and custom loot tables, I guess. But you're talking about custom map add-ons for certain areas, probably.
Kind of, for example, if you look at DayZ Origins, you have those amazing city buildings and they are more or less empty.
This is
Mhm.
true,
Yeah.
yeah. This happens in Epoch as well. I see a lot of servers adding buildings, but they do not add so that
Yeah.
they spawn loot. But
Yeah.
we will,
Okay.
and for the missions we will make sure that there is loot, of course.
And one other thing I always notice is, I guess that's really a problem from the engine. You enter, for example, a cement factory, and you expect as a human being that there would be cement. And what do you find? Yeah, a pair of broken scissors or a weapon, but not cement.
We chose to remove cement as a kind of design choice. There's a lot. The Epoch modular building system has a lot of benefits to it. However, there's a system that is also now in Epoch as of 1.0.7, so the latest update in 2021, that also includes the DayZ vanilla building system. However, that building system is almost never used. So our design choice basically was to remove the most Epoch servers have, and this can be all edited. This is all quite editable in its own right, but can basically you can make base building as complex or as simple as you want to. But it seems from my part, the current meta is that most servers just make concrete sniper towers that are never damageable. Some servers do have damage on them, but most are just like immortal sniper towers, and we're trying to get away from that and go to more of, I guess you would say, open, realistic base designs, using a lot of the assets from DayZ Vanilla. So that would be 1.9.0.
I can correct you there, Canadian. We have cement, but we don't have cinder.
Yeah, I found today cement, but no cinder. I wondered, hey, I never saw cinder.
You can build a cement bunker with with the cement, but you can't build the regular cinder blocks.
Yep. So we remove cinder blocks as like a design choice because we want to go to something more similar eventually as like you see base building in Origins, I guess.
So basically, already fixed houses, sets, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yep. We have to make custom CFG files and things like that to make it work. But yeah, it's all possible in Epoch. Yep.
I, I so hope you include that because for 3 years I try with a group of friends to build in DayZ Origins the stronghold, and it's bugged. So we never can do it. We even rented an own server and tried it many times. Every were 5 6 guys, and every guy tried it, and every time we were kicked from the server when we started the building process.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
I actually built a stronghold on Bartertown, and
So that
I had some
yeah.
help, of course. There, I had some crazy help from a guy from Poland who chopped like 6,000 wood or something for me. Yeah.
I'm not as familiar with Origins server config files and things like this. I know there's a lot less, I guess you could say, direction or choice or variation that you can do with them. But my guess still is the host, was it lag-free servers that you were having the server hosted on?
Yeah, we first discovered the problem on Bierstübchen, a German server, and then said, hey, let's try to rent our own server from lag free. And yeah, everybody from our group had the same problem.
Yeah, my guess is that there's something lag-free servers is, I don't know how related, but they in some way they are related to the original Origins developers. I believe they're friends of the developer Martin, or it's Martin himself who's hosting all the servers. I'm not fully sure, but essentially it has something to do with that, and I don't know more. I could probably figure it out if I researched it enough, but my guess is that there's something broken in how lag-free servers is hosting, which is unfortunate because lag-free servers is the only official way technically you're supposed to run Origins.
But
at least.
Bartertown is also on lag-free servers, and it works.
Yeah, so my guess then is that it's either a problem with lag-free servers or it's a problem whatever admin or server owner settings were set up. Because I think I have seen the video, actually. I have seen the Origins video that you're talking about with your friends, Sodaris. I watched quite a few of your videos because I found them interesting. And I believe it was a battle eye restriction, which is Kane and I were just talking about battle eye restrictions earlier today because there's one we have to fix on our server. Basically, they're anti-cheat mechanisms that are put in for certain scripts or injections or adding things to the server, like map add-ons or bases. And sometimes the battle eye restriction is triggered because it falsely thinks the player is injecting code into the server, which might be malicious in some way. So it's tripping something in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Which makes totally sense because we didn't have a game crash. We were kicked from the game. So totally makes sense that it's battle eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every
And there's
time
ways to fix it. I don't know. Yeah.
every time I try to build one of the server items that it's called NS server something, it's a server rack from the Malsk. Every time you build it or you try to delete it, you are kicked from the server.
There's ways
That's-
around this. You have to add custom battle eye restrictions, basically, that tell the server if a player is placing this class name, don't think of it as a hack or a cheat. It's allowed, essentially. The parameters allow it. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah.
But for base building, we will probably not add strongholds to Namalsk because the map is too small for having a lot of strongholds. But
Yeah.
I made a few pictures of the base building items we have. I put them on our Discord server and showed some concept art. And we have the more, what should you call it, like the fort walls. It's one wall and one wood version and one metal version you can build instead of the concrete walls, and then you can build some other things your your house and whatever. And there are a lot of things you can build even without cinder blocks, I assure you.
I want to get into that a little bit later, but for now, I would like also to know what is the plan for the near future, for the far future. What can you tell me?
So we are working very hard on the Namalsk server right now, and we will
Yep.
be releasing it this winter sometime. We think, we
Mhm.
hope, and that will give us a good base with 2 servers. And if we count Bomb servers, we have 3 servers because
Yep.
Bomb also have a server called Professionals Playground, which is part of the family, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Bomb's server. It is
Yeah.
more militarized than our server and a little bit more classic Epoch. Like you can build the, you know, classic Epoch structures. It's not as survival oriented or as PvE oriented as our servers, but it is still a heavily customized server that people should check out. Bomb
Yeah.
has spent a lot of time over the years making very custom scripts and custom missions on his servers, and he has CCTV hacking scripts. So if a player builds a security camera around their base, there are unique scripts that he has where you can hack into someone else's security camera and things like this. It's quite advanced. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's always interesting what is possible here.
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, a lot.
And we have already started, of course, talking about more service in the future. So next Epoch server will be different from the other 2, but it will also be different from everything else probably because that's how we do it.
Mhm.
And we have also talked about having servers for other survival style games maybe in the future.
That's maybe a sad topic, but do you have also ideas for promotion? Because nowadays it's hard to motivate players to play even on any DayZ server, especially a hardcore server.
Yeah, since we're so busy on developing kind of the sister Namalsk server, it's hard for us to focus on advertising. One kind of silver lining to this I see is that Kane. I see him in a lot of ways as our official unofficial media sponsor.
Yeah. With my
Through his videos.
275 something
It's still,
subscribers.
it's still good,
Strong.
It's still
Yeah.
good for what Arma 2 is at this point. And but to answer your question, when we're done developing, we will go. I will make it my next mission to go heavily into advertising, essentially, because our team is small. It will take longer, but again, I think this is kind of a quality over quantity thing. If we added more people, we could do more things, but I I would imagine that the quality of the work would probably go down because it's just more complicated, essentially.
Yeah, definitely more people can get also more in the way.
Especially with something like Arma 2, where there are lots of different playstyles technically. And I necessarily don't see anything wrong with that. But if you want to do a more survival oriented server, that is kind of a niche thing in itself.
Which leads me also a little bit into the aspect of suggesting a few things to you guys. One thing would be, since I'm a big proponent of archiving information, make kind of a forum, a Wikipedia, something where all this amazing information is saved.
I have a domain name currently that we want to, so we want to build our own forums for kind of this DayZ survival community. But currently, I don't have enough time to learn HTML, which is website creation essentially in Web 2 and Web 3, which is what most people run when they run modern browsers. So I will learn that eventually, just so I can build our own custom forums, but it will take time. And but that you're right, it is important. We have plans to make our own forums. We also have plans to basically make a wiki or a player how-to for all the various unique scripts in the form, I guess, of the player journal. We'll make a custom player journal with probably maybe not hundreds of pages, but dozens of pages explaining various mechanics in the game and things like that. That will also take time to code because it is quite a unique thing, and there will be unique art assets that will have to be added to it and things like this. But it's all possible, yeah, and very important.
Definitely, it's a lot of work, but yeah, like I said, it's it's so important for me and many others out there, I guess, that this information is not only safe, but also that you maybe even can reproduce it. I find it's amazing that we lost nearly 90% of the history of DayZ. There were so many unique servers out there. We don't know what script they used, what mission ideas they had, not even the website or the promotion of those servers are there. Nothing, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, all the old forums are gone. Like OpenDayZ.net shut down about half a year ago. That had a lot of really unique scripts. That's gone. Armaholic obviously shut down. That was from what I understand, a Bohemia decision because they didn't see enough players playing Arma 2, but I don't know the full backstory of that. There's very few places where, yeah, this stuff is archived. The best place currently that still exists, if people are interested in Arma 2, is the DayZ Epoch forums.
Which is sadly a little bit broken. You can't make a new account. I tried. I even
Oh,
contacted
interesting.
them. Maybe they fixed it. It was a year ago. But for over a year, I tried to get in touch with them. I wrote them an email. I get in touch on the Discord. And everybody just told me, don't mind, use Discord.
Try again. Yeah, they updated their website. They got a better server, essentially. I think they changed servers. So you should be able to make a new account on it.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know.
I have to add to that when it comes to the old stuff that is forgotten and gone now, Canadian has done a lot of work in finding and recreating a lot of the old stuff. So a lot of things that we have now on our servers, he has dug up from very old script that is no longer there to find.
I use Wayback Machine a ton too.
And
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
I think that both Bomb and you have shared some of your scripts to the GitHub.
We have. So we don't share all of the scripts that we make to the public, but a lot of them we have. 3 of the most important ones, or soon to be 3. Two of them are already public. Two of them are kind of more macabre, I guess you could say, and then one of them is more utilitarian. There's a craft anything script that we made. We have quite a bit of crafting on the servers, as I'm sure you're familiar with, and anyone who's played here is familiar with. And we basically made custom config files so that people could craft various items that didn't exist before, and different combinations and stuff like this. So we released that to the Epoch community, and I have seen a few server owners use it, but not many, because most server owners aren't interested in that kind of more gamey or survival oriented play, I guess you could say. But some server owners have added it. The other script we released to the public was that we tested here and on our sister server was a Russian roulette script that I revived from 2013, kind of darker. And then the third one that we're working on is an investigation script, so you'll be able to use handcuffs and rope and duct tape to subdue players and kind of interrogate them and search their inventories. It's a non-invasive way of subduing a player for a PvP server, and you could use it on PvE as well for missions and events. Yeah,
Nice. Like stuff like that.
and it's all over a decade old that code was written on various servers and just left, and we decided to revive it.
That's really good of you that you have that stuff, and I hope we see it on some platform in the future archived.
It is on GitHub currently, so I can, if you're interested, I can give you GitHub links.
Okay, good. It's so nice of you.
Yeah, one of them isn't up yet, but we need to test it a bit more. But we will release it when it's finished, and that has instructions. There's quite a few devs on the Epoch Discord who have very detailed GitHub repositories that are very helpful if you want to add certain custom scripts. But to know the names of the devs, to know their like, you need to know which profile to search for, which maybe people won't initially know, but you'd have to kind of ask around, basically.
It's a shame. It's really a shame because where's the point basically that they have all those files on their hard disk in a closet? Nobody can use it. It's a shame. it's so much love. They created the stuff, and yeah, in a perfect world, basically there would be a community launcher installer where you could select, hey, I want to play on UK 111, an amazing server I played many years ago, and you just install the config files for that server configuration and you play it with your friends. It would be much more enjoyable and worth it to the creation of this than just collecting dust in a closet.
And unfortunately, a lot of the devs for various mods, various iterations of mods, and I'm talking about obscure DayZ mods, maybe that people didn't play back in the day, but I did things like DayZ 2017, DayZ Decay, DayZ Epidemic, DayZ Escape. These were all sub mods of the original mod. And most people don't even know that they existed. Some people did play them. Most people went for the larger mods like Vanilla DayZ, Epoch, Origins, things like this. But a lot of really interesting ideas, you're right, was lost that were created in those initial sub mods of mods. And the unfortunate part is that most of the people that made them no longer play Arma. So there's no way to contact them to ask, hey, could we add this into, you know, a new iteration of DayZ mod? So yeah, in that sense, you're right. They did take the ideas of their scripts to their grave, kind of,
Yeah.
in a sense.
And it's sadly a very unique aspect in gaming that you have in the Arma community. If you look at mods for Half-Life, Counter-Strike, whatever, you still find a download file and you can just install it somehow, even Wayback Machine. But here, since it's so behind doors, sometimes those things were created hard, and sadly, the Discord communities don't help because it's more gated content.
Yeah. The best way I can describe it is the Discord communities developed after a lot of this stuff was closed as well. So many people on the Discord communities aren't even aware of some of these things. And I don't say this to brag in any sense, but there have been community devs or devs in the Epoch Discord, for example, that I don't consider myself I don't have 10k hours like Kane and Arma 2. I don't consider I've played a lot of Arma 2. I do love it in all of its kind of iterations, but I found things in the base files just through constant searching in the mission files that some developers that are currently around or server owners of other servers didn't know existed. And I don't say that to brag. It's just many people, I would say, are not as interested in searching for these things because they are so hard to find, and the success rate of finding them is very low. Yeah.
And then to implement them is even harder.
Yes, because
Yeah.
very often it's just a class name or it's just an FNC function that needs to be recompiled and all these things. Yeah.
We do a lot of detective work
Yeah.
to find
I-
stuff.
I use Wayback Machine all the time, which is fun but kind of sad because it is tough to find things. But it's worth it when you do. And there was an arms race, I would say, in the early days of DayZ. I played all the way back from 2012 to now, on and off. I would take like a couple of years off and then come back. But looking back at it now in a kind of retrospective way, there seems to have been like an arms race when it came to how people made their servers. Like basically, the mod exploded in popularity in an unforeseen way, and various server owners were trying to get ahead of other server owners or other sub mod creators to make their mod the most popular one or to attract more players. And I would say on one hand, that competition allowed for a huge blossoming of different ideas, and that's why we had so many submods of Arma 2 DayZ, which is kind of a good thing. But that competition also hindered people from sharing many cool ideas because they didn't want an opposing server owner maybe to have their files. So it is an unfortunate truth of Arma 2, and it's quite different from other modding communities in that. And Arma 3 is very similar from what I understand. I don't believe DayZ Standalone is the same way. People seem to share mods on DayZ Standalone more frequently, but DayZ Standalone is coded in an entirely different language and it's quite different. So maybe that's why.
Well, at least we have you two here, and also your friendly wizard who helps you
Yeah.
Bombardier, yeah.
to archive this a little bit. It's a big thank you from me again.
If I could shout out 2 other servers that are similar to our server in a lot what we want to accomplish. They're similar in the sense that they want to make unique servers with these old concepts or new concepts that are more survival oriented, although the play style is a bit different. Is the Last Refugium servers and also the Over 9000 server. You can look these up on the DayZ launcher. They're very customized and also very survival oriented. And I think people of all different play styles can enjoy them in their PvE, but they are enjoyable in their own way.
Would you say the still active community we have in DayZ, in the DayZ mod, are they working close together? Are they helping each other, or are they still, this is my server, this is my land, and get away, stranger?
It's much better than it was. Now that you could say the arms race is over, it's been over for many years now. I'd say at least since 2016. People are a lot more helpful and willing to share information. That's been my experience. But I am familiar with, even though I wasn't developing servers and I was just a player, I am familiar with what it was like before from hearing from other people, but also kind of looking back at it retrospectively. And I foresee a time where very soon, where DayZ, Arma 2 DayZ, in all of its iterations, will be more similar to something like Gary's mod, with a smaller community, obviously, than something like Gary's mod. But I foresee dozens of people kind of coalescing around each other and making communities. As there are less and less servers, it's basically, again, a quality over quantity question. As there are less servers, I think the quality of many of the servers will go up. That's the way I see it, because people who aren't so interested in server hosting won't make unique servers, and they just will kind of leave the pool of servers, which reduces the amount, but the quality will probably increase, and the uniqueness of them will probably increase, similar to how people develop Source quite uniquely now and things like Gary's mod.
Yeah, and we have to mention that there's still a Epoch dev team that
Yes,
are still
they're
developing Epoch.
they're
So
active, yes. And I have the pleasure to know them. I've talked with them. They take server owners' suggestions. They're quite knowledgeable as well, and yeah, they help. They are the glue that keeps the community together in many ways. I should also say that for anyone who maybe didn't like Epoch and was more familiar with Vanilla DayZ and the official Arma 2 DayZ servers that Bohemia hosted back in the day, you should be interested to know that there is a DayZ 2.0 being worked on, Arma 2 DayZ 2.0. There is a separate dev team who is reviewing the old vanilla files, making their own custom ones. They basically don't have permission from Bohemia to make a direct update to the current files, but they're going to make their own files, and there will be a DayZ 2.0 released sometime in the near future. The best way to learn about that, if you're an Arma 2 player who wants to know more, is to join the Arma 2 DayZ Discord, which there is an official Arma 2 DayZ Discord. It's not as active as it used to be. It's not as active as the Epoch Discord, but there's a lot of really helpful community devs there, or people I would call community devs, who run their own vanilla DayZ servers and can help people self-host them. So people are quite nice there as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I just recently learned that there is a new team working on a new version of DayZ in Arma 2. It's amazing.
I know a bit about what they're doing just through our servers, and it's quite impressive.
And do you think it's easy in the future then to switch to their version of the mod?
Is it easy? No, I would say not. It's definitely not easy.
Well, Then maybe some suggestions from my side for this version I currently played from your side.
I should also, I guess, note quickly, Kane and I see Frost, the Last Frontier Frost, because it was our first attempt at making it a server. We see it as our kind of, this is 1.0. That's how, it's not officially called that, but that's how we see it. So we do plan lots of big patches and things, but this comes probably after we release Namalsk.
So you will update all the different maps constantly, or what is the plan there?
Basically, I do plan to update them as our scripting infrastructure gets better, more efficient. We revise scripts. I plan to update the servers, all of them that we eventually run. We have lots of ideas for different unique servers with different storylines, but all of them will use the same base architecture. So you will be able to do the same stuff on all of them at a base level, but there will be unique things added per server. Like there will be a different, the warm clothing on Namalsk will be probably slightly different from the warm clothing on other servers and things like this. But that will, those will be small iterations. Basically, there will be base updates to the ways that the server runs, and it will be made more efficient over time.
I guess I also have to ask the most important question here. When can we expect the next big update?
When it comes to Frost, it will be after the Namalsk server releases, because I will basically take a lot of the things that I learned in coding the Namalsk server, the sister server, and update that into Frost. Frost will probably get a lot of map edits and a lot of very unique weather updates that will make it more interesting and less static. This has to do with like a not super documented thing in Arma 2, Arma 3 called particle effects. I've learned how to make custom particle effects to a certain degree. I'm going to learn more as time goes on. This just creates unique atmospheric things that are fun, basically. Like one thing we've developed in that vein are called, we're calling toxic zones. We took some inspiration from the toxic zones that are in DayZ Standalone, and basically we're using those as a template to make our own toxic zones here. We do have them currently in Frost, but there isn't gas that you see. But now we've developed scripts that, make unique particle effects for things like toxic gas and stuff like that.
What is the time frame for the next server? Do we talk a year, half a year?
I would say by the end of this winter. So that would be the end of Q1 2024, I guess, something like that. If you think of it in business quarters, technically.
Nice. I read that it's also more PvE orientated.
The Namal server will be, yes, yep. But a lot of the unique scripts will come to Frost for PvP enjoyers. Things like the investigation scripts we were talking about, where you can detain players, and other things like updated. I've learned a lot more essentially about how loot tables work, and working with percentages and Arma ratios are quite fun. They're not as evident as you would hope them to be at first. This is probably an engine design thing. I've learned much more about it, and yeah.
Yeah, all
So
the
updated loot
all
tables.
the loot
and stuff like
tables
that.
will be custom. We have basically looked at everything that can spawn in Arma 2 and changed it.
Yep.
And
And
also
there will
we
be a
will
lot
have
of
yeah, we will also have unique ways of spawning vehicles, more like the Origins style.
Sounds amazing.
vanilla DayZ and Origins. Yeah, those were our two inspirations.
I have a few suggestions, not many. One thing you already mentioned, you plan a wiki and manuals and stuff, because at the moment it's unbelievable hard for a new player in DayZ in general, but also a new player on this server. It's very unforgiving. I experienced myself, even though I played half a year ago on this server already, I basically lost my body in the northwest airfield because I couldn't get in time to my body. It despawned, and I couldn't find anything on the vehicle side. Then of course no closing, it's hard to survive on this server, which is of course good, but I think on the balancing side, you have to do a little bit more. Either make some loot more easily to find, or maybe spawn the player with a map, because that's another problem. Since you edited so much amazing stuff to the server, sometimes even as a veteran player, I wondered, holy cow, where am I? No, this
That's funny. Yeah, that's something we've discussed in developing Namalsk currently. The way Namalsk will work, which will be eventually the way this server will work. The reason it just isn't that way now is it's too difficult to focus on coding two unique things. I'll just code it once and then port it over here when it's done. Basically, the player loadouts will be quite different on Namalsk and will be here eventually, where players will spawn with maps and radios, and there will be a in-game PDA that players will have that will notify them and also explain certain things to them about game mechanics that we've added. But kind of circling back to an earlier thing, the journal that we talked about we want to make will be essentially a small version of whatever wiki or forums we develop, so people will be able to see the crafting recipes. And it is a good thing that you pointed out. When Chinaris happens to be a bigger map, so it's harder to move around, but we do plan on making unique blueprints and things for crafting temporary travel vehicles and stuff like this, sort of an iteration of the deploy anything script. We just want to do this in a less we want to do it in a bit more of a hardcore way, with, I guess you would say, soft skill systems where players learn the blueprints and then they know how to make, for instance, a Mozzie, and then then they can always make the Mozzie.
I like this from DayZ Origin, that they had also a kind of a skill systems. Stuff like that is really nice.
Yeah, we have a lot of inspiration from that. I think they were very creative as well in this sense. It's unfortunate that they decided to just stop development entirely, or at the very least they didn't release their server code, and the code they developed for their mod has never been open source. So it's entirely closed source. So people were never allowed to edit it. As opposed to Epoch's vision or DayZ Vanilla's vision, which was more anyone can edit this.
It's again such a stupid idea to have it so closed, your project, your mods. I'm from the generation who had LAN parties. We enjoyed
Yeah.
our content in a LAN environment. So
Yeah.
why make
Yeah.
it fucking secure behind
Yeah.
closed doors?
Yeah.
Hate that
It
stuff.
is quite annoying. Yeah. And still today it doesn't allow for a lot of creativity, which is unfortunate. In such a creative sandbox that or like Origins is. For example, Kane and I would have done all of this in Origins if Origins was open sourced and allowed people to easily edit things, but it doesn't. And Epoch's framework is much better for this.
One other thing which didn't really help recovering my body is an amazing idea, but in exactly that moment, it's very frustrating that you can also spawn as a zombie.
That's a very mechanic that we kind of revived. There are ways to in that, so you can respawn as a player. I want to add unique things in the future where there are like currently you can suicide, but you have to use a command in chat, which is /suicide.
Oh, okay. I always use the letters.
Oh yeah, you can use ladders too. It's not as fast, but you can use it's a way.
It's the classic
There,
way.
we plan on changing the zombie system because I see it as a fun thing that can be done in PvE.
Yeah, definitely. For a PvP environment, it is amazing. But if you want to rescue a body, it was
It's difficult. Yeah, I plan to add system chats, which are basically that's whenever you see to the bottom left corner of your screen your character expresses something or something is.
Canadian. Are you still here?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We lost you again.
We lost you, and the last thing we heard
Mm.
were basically you wanted to include a message system which informs you in some way.
Yep, using system chats to tell people how they if they get infected, what to do if they're a zombie, and then how they can become uninfected if they want to. So basically, we've talked about this a little bit. We haven't developed the idea much more than that, but eventually there will be a possibility where, like, if you're playing with your friends, you'll be able to return your friend to their basically use a zombie cure, to return your friend to a human. And there will also be options to just opt out and respawn as a player. Again, if you just decide, if you get infected, turn into a zombie, you'll be able to quickly opt out of that decision and just play the game again as a survivor.
That's good. I like the idea in general, but if you have the option, that would be amazing. Another thing I have to touch is the currency system. It's totally a personal preference thing, I get it, but I prefer the coin system from other Epoch servers because the inventory gets convoluted with so many gold and silver bars, and you can't combine them in some way.
We're probably going to add coins to the next iteration of the server. It's currently on Namalsk. We have a coin system, but we just call them rubles because of the Soviet setting. So that's on Namalsk, yeah. And that will be primarily used in Namalsk and probably eventually this server as well for an in-game kind of player-driven economy, an MMO kind of auction house that we plan to add. That there will be no traders in Namalsk. Players will set the prices for things that they want to sell to other players.
Yeah, I can say something about the gems and the gold on this server, and that is that you can combine them at the traders, and you can also combine them when you pay for your plot pole. Everything you have in your inventory will then be combined.
Okay.
We decided to go with gold, I believe, at first because we thought it was more survival oriented.
It was the classical way, basically.
Yeah, but we've decided that we want to go with our custom coins option now that we're developing it more.
Yeah, well, I guess that's it for me. Just a few suggestions I had.
No, I think they were very appropriate suggestions for the current meta kind of the server and how it's set up.
Yeah, especially since there isn't any real player base, it's hard to get everything alone done.
It is, yeah.
So it would be different, my opinions and suggestions, if it would be a big community, of course. But I hope, since you mentioned so many great ideas, I hope we get a community. Doesn't have to be a full 70 slots server,
No,
but something like that.
That would be the dream. It's probably going to be something more like 5 to 10 active people, I think, at this rate. But you can be surprised by a lot of people are turned on to re-download Arma 2 because of Kane's videos. That's very helpful.
And can't really wait for your next map. Yeah, but before we go to the next topic, maybe switch location to the oil rig.
Sure. Yeah.
Seeing the ship is also something I always wanted in any DayZ iteration, that you could enter those ships and have nice military loot, something special, and always it was just a skin or just walkable, and that's it.
On Namalsk, we plan to add like a field hospital on top of the ship on the battleship.
And also you can, there is 2 rooms at least that is enterable in the ship.
Yep. There's 2 like interior rooms that were used in the campaign. A bomb developed this oil rig originally, and then and we made some modifications to it, but it's quite interesting. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Okay, let's jump into the last real topic. I wonder, especially after learning that one of you guys played for 10,000 hours, why are you still playing this game? What keeps you in it?
So this is a question for me then.
Both.
Well, I honestly and I swear to all the old gods and the new, I think that Arma 2 with the Epoch mod and the Origins mod is the best game in its genre so far. And people are often accusing me of nostalgia, but it's not nostalgia for me because I have never stopped playing it. I have never left. I like the gloomy Eastern European look of Arma 2, and I basically like how everything works in the game. I like the third person view. I like how responsive and fast the character are to the controls compared to the standalone, which I find very clunky. I like the mouse wheel options. I like the gunplay. I like the vehicles, and I like what we have done with the game now as well. Yeah, there is not many games outside of Arma that has such good gunplay where you can actually shoot your gun at 1,000 or 1,500 meters and still
Yeah.
hit something.
I
The
did
ballistics is
yeah.
great.
Yeah. I did make fun of the engine earlier, but Kane is pointing out something that's a big strength. There's lots of quirky things with Arma and the engine,
Yeah,
especially in Arma 2,
but
but its
we don't
strength
say
here.
that. We don't say that.
Yeah, we say it
We
there.
call them
Yeah,
features. We
we
call
call
them
them features.
features.
We call them features. This is true. Yeah, but there's a lot of quirky. There's a lot of features, but there's a lot more strengths too that make it. Like the engine is very robust. Like you can go on the map editor. I'm not going to do this, but I could spawn. This would lag everyone, but I could spawn 1,000 battleships to fight 1,000 battleships. It's crazy stuff like that. That is not really achievable in most other games at all if they have even modding features.
Did you ever check out Arma 3?
Yeah, Ken and I have played it. We've played the Arma 3, the DayZ Epoch version that isn't technically, it's official kind of. It's not being developed anymore. Arma 3 Epoch, I don't believe, or it gets really sparse updates.
I have played about 200 hours of Arma 3, I think. Arma 3 is like a holiday in Greece, and Arma 2 is like the real deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good way to describe it. It's a bit more. It has a lot of advanced functions that Arma 2 doesn't have, but for at least me and I think Kane, it leaves a lot to be desired. It doesn't have the same. You can mod it to have the same maybe aesthetic, gloomy aesthetic, but the base version of Arma 3, because it takes place in the Aegean Sea, is a lot more uppity and happy than than the post-Soviet.
Yeah,
Arma
even
2.
yeah, even the Chernarus map looks like, well, it's more happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Yeah.
happy. You should be sad
Yeah.
when you're playing. the
Yeah,
game.
it should be very somber. I agree.
It is
Yeah,
the
that's
apocalypse after all.
yeah, I agree.
But I really have to say that that can't be the only thing why nobody in my circle is playing it. I also played 30 to 50 hours and I still come back to Arma 2 or to DayZ. Arma 2 I never touched in that sense. But DayZ is still, yeah, the go-to game for me to experience kind of realism simulation or, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think because all Arma 3 uses the same scripting language, and it has even more functionality to it because it's been updated. So that scripting, it's like the next iteration of the engine here. I guess one of the things it might be that I see is gunplay, animations, and the UI is very different. In some ways, it is more responsive. In other ways, I think maybe they decided to go for things that were more popular in like modern battlefields, not BF1 or BF2, but they seem to be. I think there was a lot more influence to be more like other AAA studios than Armed Assault and Arma 2. Arma 2 was essentially Armed Assault with a lot of added things, which
But going back to this game, what would you say if you game and not mods? What is your typical day? Are you looking for the next big loot or are you more the PvP player? Are you more friendly? Are you more bandit?
I have probably sunk most of my hours into base building. I did play a lot of PvP servers. Yeah, I've sunk a lot of hours into base building on various PvE or PvP servers. So most of the time, you can find me building some sort of fortified outpost somewhere on the far reaches of the map, probably. We played on a Lingor server that a friend of ours hosted a while ago. This is 3 years ago now, and I did make like a bar that people could go to. So
Yeah.
fun things like this. I did play a lot of PvP back in the day. I still enjoy it. I'd stopped when it became very, very toxic around 2014, 15 in the DayZ Arma 2 DayZ community. But most of the time, you can find me base building.
I'm a 100% PvE player. I've played maybe 50 hours of my 10,000 PvP. I like the survival and the exploration. I always set out for a new exploration on the maps. I always hope for great things on servers, but I rarely find them, fortunately. But now, with our servers, the exploration will be very interesting. And I'm also I like to build a base and go out in the world and explore it. Always as the hero, of course. I never shoot heroes. I only shoot bandits.
Yeah, I'm more or less the same thing. Also, the older I'm getting, the more I prefer the relaxed gameplay than the hardcore PvP where you lose everything.
Yeah.
Which is also part of the reason I never saw certain buildings, certain items on different servers, because I always died on the way there. And I think that the kill on site is a blessing in some way and also a curse in the Arma community or in the DayZ community.
Well, the community wasn't very nice. The PvP community in any game isn't very nice.
Yeah.
The PvE community is pretty nice. I have learned to know a lot of nice people over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But if you play a PvP game today, like I play a bit of World of Tanks, I'm not very good at it, but I try. And I mean, the community is extremely toxic.
It used to be like this in Arma 2. It's died down quite a bit from what I can tell. But yeah.
And for me personally, I came to the conclusion that where I get the most out of gaming, and that's if I have a casual session, not in the sense of casual, I want a simple game. No, casual in the sense I can achieve something without dying every 5 seconds and having a relaxed environment where I have also fun.
Yeah.
So, no problem, just fighting against bots here.
Yeah. I agree.
And what would you say is your preferred way of transportation? What is your favorite vehicle?
I love the Mozzie that was added in 1.5.1 Epoch. This is quite a few years ago now. It's been in Epoch for quite a while. It was in other iterations of the DayZ mod as well. It's been in other mods. But yeah, the Mozzie is a great little starter helicopter that's quite a bit of fun to use. The ability to drop grenades with it is fun. I remember Kane and I testing Starry Sabor mission that we made, which I think is probably still one of the best missions we made on this server. And I decided to go in a Mozzie and just drop grenades on the AI. And then a storm came, so I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And that was quite challenging. It was a lot of fun trying to drop from like 500 or like no more like 1,000 meters in the sky to 500 or 300 and just hover over the AI without them shooting at you. It was the Mozzie is mine for sure. Yeah.
Before you say it, Kane, I have a good promotion idea for your server. Record everything and use it as a blooper reel.
Well,
So really fun, crazy stuff during the development. You just pick a few things for a few minutes and you have a nice blooper reel for promotion.
That is
probably
true.
is a good idea. That probably is a good idea. Even if a lot of the footage is not usable, it probably is because there's those golden moments
Yeah, exactly.
with funny things that happen that we have a lot of personal jokes about funny things we've tested on the server that only he and I know about. Or Bomb as well. But yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead, please. What is your favorite vehicle?
Well, I must say, and everyone that has seen my videos knows this, the Colonel truck in in Origins has been my favorite go-to vehicle, but it's not very good in reality because you can only use it from one side.
Mm.
It's bugged that way. Otherwise, I have always liked the armored SUV, and now we're in the new Epoch with a fully upgrade. It's a great vehicle. I also like to run. That is a good way. If you don't want to die in horrible ways, running is always the best way.
So you play the walking simulator.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
You as soon as you get into a vehicle, stuff can happen.
Yep. Yep. This is true. Yeah.
You don't have to include it. It's a totally pipe dream and not necessary. But what I really miss from DayZ Origins is the wheeled Titanic.
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh yeah.
It was such a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do plan on probably for this server before Namalsk to add Origins files. So the wheel Titanic I know is disabled in 1.8.3 Origins, right? It doesn't spawn
Yeah.
anymore, but it did in the earlier versions. I believe I would have to check this. 1.8.3 Origins I think still has the wheel Titanic. It
I
just
think
doesn't.
so, yeah.
So we probably could add it. Yeah, I do like a lot of the Origins vehicles. I think they would fit really well into what we're trying to build. Not all of the Origins stuff probably would, but a lot of it would.
It would be cool
And
to make
yeah.
kind of quest or mission with a with Titanic.
Yeah, where you have to kill AI, maybe on one portion of the map where there's water, and then you have to move locations to another location that's on land. And the best vehicle, maybe to do both those things, is probably the wheeled Titanic.
Can you include a roadkill counter?
A roadkill counter. So when you run over zombies, is that what you need?
Or players or whatever.
Probably the best. I don't know. Zombies would work client side, so I don't know. It could be possible. What is more likely is that we could maybe add unique sounds to zombies when they die, specifically from getting hit
We-
by cars. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a script where you can collect zombies if you have a
Yep.
pickup or a truck. You can collect zombies on it if you have a rope.
It's on this server. Do you want to go somewhere and we can demonstrate it if you're curious?
Yeah, definitely for recording purposes, I would like to see that.
Sure. Let's go somewhere where there's not AI. Let me.
But let's finish this first and then
Sure, yeah,
let's
yeah.
go.
Yeah. Sure.
Then maybe also, can you name me a few places you really like from the different maps you played?
I have one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
On Namalsk, it has always been the A2 bunker. On every Namalsk server I have ever played, I always run there first to see if they have done anything cool there. Often I am very disappointed because people don't do stuff anymore, but I can guarantee that people will not be disappointed on the TLF Namalsk server. Guaranteed. That
A
you
lot
can
of stuff. Yeah.
all
at
the
A2.
server uptime you have stuff to do if you want to.
Yep.
So I would say A2 on the Namalsk.
Yeah, for me, I guess all the DayZ or all the Arma 2 maps that were ported for DayZ, a lot of them have unique things. Not all of them. For me, it's probably a tie between the Lost Relic or the Secret Relic in Lingor. There's like
Oh yeah,
I showed Kane it, and I believe you made a video about it actually. Kane,
I made a video about it and I slaughtered the Spanish language very hard.
Yep, yeah. So if people have ever played any iteration of DayZ mod with Lingor, they might have seen this map marker that talks about a secret. There's basically I don't want to fully spoil it, but it's something people should go to check out on their own. But there's a Ridley Scott cameo or joke in that. It basically it leads you to several locations, and there's a cool Easter egg at the end.
And it's really in the map, so it's not modded?
It's in the default Lingor map. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So not like the pyramid in Origins, which should be there, but nobody could ever find.
I've had confirmation from a lot of people who have really looked at the Origins files that it does exist.
But not in the game.
There is a blueprint to build it, but it does not it's not in the loot configs. So they built it as a joke, I guess, or maybe for testing, I'm not sure, and they never added it. But there are unique ways to, if you make a customized Origins server, to get it to work. Yeah.
Oh, good to know. Maybe in the future I will see every building in this amazing mod they did back then.
Yeah.
And it's a not an easy answer maybe, but what would you say was the best experience playing this game?
For a long time, I played, and I had friends in high school that and later in grad school that I played DayZ with, but they, or Arma 2 DayZ, I should specify, but they just, I do play games with them occasionally still. They're still my friends, but they don't play Arma 2 anymore, and I don't see them coming back. So for me, I did kind of wander for a long time. It was finding people like Kane and Bomb who have similar, I would say, interests and desires and in Arma 2 and Arma 2 DayZ specifically. Yeah.
I have two great ones that I can think of all this time. One of them is on tape, but the video wasn't very good. The sound was messed up. But I made a co-op mission to Sector B with my good friend Nick, or without Nick, and a few others. And we struggled for 6 hours to clear the Sector B mission.
Mm.
And I was the only one that never died on those 6 hours.
Oh
It
my
was six hours of fun and excitement.
That's also unique, I would say, because Arma 2 can be a real bitch. You just make a wrong turn and you die for no reason, basically.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Or a
And-
rock decides to kill you and you don't know why.
yeah. And that memory is almost fonder to me now that my friend Nick doesn't really play games anymore. But that was probably one of my best experience of this game. And then I had another experience that I thought I recorded, but I didn't.
Mm.
A really cool mission on the last Refugium server, the Taviana one.
Mhm.
A very hard mission where I didn't survive. I died a lot, but we had a lot of fun on that mission, me and some friends. Very cool. So the mission is mostly remembered because I failed to record it. So no one will ever be able to see it. That kind of sucks.
Another lost memory, sadly.
Yeah. I crawled up with, I had like a Makarov with one shot, and I crawled up to the last M2 guy and shot him. And then I realized, God damn it, I didn't record all this mission. We had
Yeah.
we were like 3 hours or something.
Ouch. Well, it can be worse. The recording is for some reason corrupted.
That happens with so many old DayZ scripts that are on Paste, was it Paste Bucket or other Dropshare, things like this that you find. They're all corrupted, and it's sad that in that sense as well.
The next question would be more, I guess, fitting for this server. What would you say is the best location, the best gear to find?
I would say it's a combo between the unique northeastern airfield that we did, and probably also there's quite a few on the coast. There's quite a few unique areas, especially the Belota version that we did. We've also done near Vereznik. There's a military installation. So between those three, I would say obviously the toxic zones probably are the most enigmatic because you need a suit like I'm wearing to go into them, and they have the best loot if the toxic zone crate has spawned and the Epoch, they're called Epoch events, the module has spawned. So yeah, probably I guess those three, the airfields or the toxic zones. Yeah,
The airfields, and also we have a new army base up in the north.
this is true. Yeah, it was added while I was away. Like I said, I work. I'm quite social and I don't game as much half of the year, and the other half of the year I'm like in a coding cave currently. So that I think of my cabin in the woods as a coding cave.
Follow up to that question, what would you recommend a new player starting on your server?
Head to Berezino. You'll see a lot less missions around there if you're trying to just get gear quick. And there's also the trader that's in Berezino, on the outskirts of the city. So head to Berezino, go north, young man. That's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, as a PvE player, I hope that new player will find a friend that can teach them the basics of the game. It's a lot to take in, so someone with
Yeah,
patience, I guess.
this is true. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Arma 2 definitely isn't as intuitive as some games when it comes to controls. Although the key binding does allow you to do a lot. I knew people back in the day who, this is back in 2013, 2014, used joystick controllers as pilots in Arma 2.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, then, before I ask my real last question here, I noticed you included a Christmas tree. Do you have plans to make it on the one side a seasonal thing, like Easter, Christmas, Halloween, and in addition to that, would you like to include later maybe some special items, loot around the
I
Christmas
do
tree?
plan for, yeah, how would you describe them? Maybe not missions per se, but unique events to be scripted like that. Making Epoch events is quite dynamic and open. There's a lot of things you can do. Examples of those on our server would be the toxic zones or the fallen satellite mission, which on this server isn't as intuitive as it will be updated to. Will be a lot more intuitive of what you're supposed to do when that spawns and what you can achieve when that spawns. So things like that, yeah, could be done to make a Christmas event. Yeah.
I still have found memories of different servers who used which used the Christmas tree or stuff like that. It was also a kind of social component.
Yeah. We must find that the Santa Claus script that Frankie used in his video.
So I can shed some light on that if anyone's curious. If anyone's seen, is that the last episode of the
Yeah,
of
the
his
last
series?
episode. Yeah, the last
The
episode.
what was the title? Do you remember? I can't recall.
Killing
I
Santa Claus, I think.
Killing Santa Claus. Yeah, something like this. It was him and Jack Frags. They were on the Molsk. So that was a unique server, as far as I can tell, that only had those files. There were no other servers. So that was a unique server that, as far as I can tell, Maka, the
Probably,
developer
yeah.
that was working with Frankie and still does. I think they're friends. Maka is British. He, as far as I can tell, he learned through trial and error. Just in a about 10 years ago, in a similar way to what we did. There was basically an AI that spawned, and it was Santa Claus in a sleigh, and he would kill people, as far as I remember.
Nice, nice. I like stuff like that.
And those files were on Armaholic. I don't think they exist anymore now that Armaholic is dead.
Nobody saved that stuff. It's
There, so you could, what was it? Almost 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, Armaholic went down 2 years ago. You were supposedly able to email the guys that ran it if you wanted, after it went down, if you wanted to get specific PBOs, and I did email them and no one responded. So I think there is no support anymore. It's kind of abandoned entirely. Yeah.
ah, great. Okay, then I would say my last question should be, since it's called a DayZ video, what do you think about DayZ standalone and why don't you play it?
Yeah, well, in short, I hate it and want to kill it with fire. It's an abomination from the original and best DayZ mod, and I wish every single player uninstalls it and return to the glory that is Arma 2. Well, a more serious answer, almost the same, but there is nothing I like about it except the nice looking forests, maybe. They look a bit better than in Arma 2.
Like,
I think the game feels clunky and overcomplicated, and the character moves sluggish, and no, I don't like it.
it has our standalone. I have a few hundred hours in. It has gotten better. I still tell this to people all the time. Some people agree with me. Some people disagree with me. The worst thing that Bohemia's decision-making apparatus, or whoever, I don't want to call any developers out, but whoever made this decision to not include modding tools immediately in standalone's release for the community to make unique things was probably the worst decision. Should have been avoided. They should have understood that the modding tools that were in Arma 2 allowed for a breadth of creativity and ideas that one development studio could not do on their own. So the limiting the players for so many years to just what they provided in their version of DayZ Standalone was probably the worst thing that could have been done. Yeah. So I think now that it does have modding, it has a brighter future for sure, but its development was blemished for almost 8 years, 6 years, something like this, because it didn't have modding. It is an entirely different coding language than Arma 2 and Arma 3, which is also unfortunate because a lot of the Arma 2 and Arma 3 scripts cannot easily be added to DayZ Standalone. You have to uniquely code them in DayZ Standalone's coding language, which I'm not nearly as familiar with, but I know it's not SQF, and I believe they do use SQL database files, but it's very different from Arma 2. So it's unfortunate. It's hard to capture lightning in a bottle twice. The mod received unbelievable levels of community support, and I think we're just maybe starting to see that now the last 2 years with DayZ Standalone, maybe. And I don't even know if it will reach the same heights as the mod did. But I don't think it's a terrible game, but they definitely destroyed the reputation of allowing people to create unique stories in a medium of a post-apocalyptic survival genre in a military simulators, and that is quite sad that they destroyed that for so long, or didn't allow that. Yeah.
I see we're all on the same page here. I bought it immediately and I tried it, and yeah, it wasn't what I expected, which is okay if you say it's an early access,
Yeah.
totally fine. If it's not on par with the mod we all played, but after so many years, so many engine changes, oh come on, I want it must be at the moment near Epoch after so many years, and it's still not there. I recently looked up how many vehicles it has, and it's laughable. It's unbelievable how much less content the game has compared to the mod. Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
And a lot of server admins that run highly modified Arma 2 servers or Arma 2 DayZ servers feel the same way. This is not a sentiment that, and I feel it's not that DayZ Standalone can't, if it's around in 5 years, still be active or anything like this. I believe actually now it has some of the most active player bases in various official servers and unofficial modded servers that it ever has had, but that's only because modding is allowed now. And the fact that they didn't allow modding from the beginning, I can guarantee you, I don't know if it would still be developed, but the Epoch community would have made mods immediately. They would have, a lot of the guys like AWOL, who no longer is, he's one of the original Epoch developers. He's no longer developing. He probably, along with others, would have immediately switched over to DayZ Standalone and probably built great, amazing things if they were able to. And the fact that for more than half a decade they weren't able to, it really killed people's creativity. It's different now that modding is allowed and highly encouraged, but it really, I think, hurt the reputation for probably forever. I would imagine there's always going to be a faction of players who played the mod and bought Standalone, like all three of us, early access in 2013, and just were not happy with it. And for the next 6 to 7 years, saw very untimely development or weird development choices that didn't allow the community to really shape the narrative of a specific DayZ server or a specific DayZ playthrough or a specific DayZ map as they wanted. Anytime you limit creativity, I think it really, it stops people from being interested. I should say, though, that over the last 2 years, the development for Standalone is probably in a much better place than it ever has been. You might know this, you might not know this, I don't know, and maybe your audience does or does not. But Sumrak, the developer of Namalsk, is now the lead developer of DayZ Standalone.
Ooh, nice.
So, and that was the last 2 years. So, like, for example, now there's Namalsk Standalone, which I have played, and I actually do enjoy it, and have taken a lot of inspiration for our Namalsk server from Namalsk Standalone because Sumrak developed that. He had a very clear vision. Want to dig up dirty laundry, but it seems that Bohemia had a really hard time finding a project lead that could develop Standalone and had a clear vision, from what I can tell as an outside observer. And it took them 6 years to find someone that could do it. And Sumrak is definitely the person to do it. He developed Namalsk entirely by himself, or with very limited help from other people. It's in a much better place than they have been, let's say. So maybe it will become much better in the years to come, but that,
Well,
it's hard to hope for as well.
the mod helps a bit. The mods they have made now. I have given it several chances. I played maybe 200 hours or something in Standalone. I think the base game is just too bad. I think,
Yeah.
like, for example, I mean, Arma 2 isn't even built for melee, like fighting close combat. But it's better. Melee is better in Arma 2 than
Yeah.
in Standalone. And that is
Yeah.
fucking sad because it's not even built for.
Yeah.
It's not
And
even
these
built
were,
for it in Arma 2.
as far as I can tell, these were unique decisions that were made because Standalone went through so many head developers. 3, 4, Rocket, David Hicks. There's a third one. I can't remember the third one. Or Brian Hicks, sorry, not David Hicks. Brian Hicks. There's a third one that I'm forgetting before Sumrak and then Sumrak. So yeah, I don't know. They went through so many developers that all had different visions instead of being very clear. Like Kane and I have a very clear vision for this server. Although it takes longer, it allows for eventually a very understood type of gameplay. And it was too I don't know if rushed is the word, but I don't think Bohemia knew what to do with the title for a while, for a long time.
Yeah, I think that you really didn't have any real concrete plans for it. You see that alone in the engine changes. Why do that? It just bites you in the ass so many times.
It makes sense to make a new engine if you're going to make a standalone game. This is understandable,
Yeah,
but
totally. That's understandable, but change it during the development many times is not a good idea. We see it in Taviana,
yeah,
but I would say we slowly come to a close. And this would be basically the part of the video where I open the mic to you guys. Is there anything you would like to add? Anything you would like to say before we close it?
I'll just keep it short. Arma 2 is still a great game. Does not have nearly as many players as it did. It never will. However, that doesn't mean that you can't coalesce groups of people together and have fun times making missions and making unique things. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think that every fan of Arma 2 should play on our servers, of course. If you hesitate because of PvP, then the Namalsk server will not be PvP. And I would say that even if you don't like PvP, I think you should try this server that we're on right now, the Cherno server, Frost one, just just to look at my POIs and try all the fun scripts, because there's a lot of good scripts in here that made by Canadian and Bomb.
Yeah. Although the points of interest, the unique map add-ons might be hard to get to, they're definitely worth checking out for sure. Yeah.
Okay, then let me say thank you for joining me. It was nice talking to you, and I can't wait to play your server and hear you again what's in the future for this amazing project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's it for this video. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think about the game, and of course, play the game. Until next time, bye bye.